all the time, bro.
Add Kim to the group
100%
chat
of
so
the
she can
time.
add her own picture.
Yeah, she
What's
might not.
going on, Myron?
What's up?
Hey, what's up, guys? How are y'all?
What's
Chilling,
happening?
chilling. How you
Hey,
feel?
what's up?
Good. How are you
I
guys?
seen you pull up on Piers Morgan. That was a pretty interesting conversation.
Huh. Yeah, it was a good time. Obviously, some people got mad and got triggered, but that's kind of what happens with the internet, right? So
I didn't get a chance to watch all of it. I watched obviously a lot of the first half of it. I didn't hear
Mhm.
what it was another white girl that was on there that was all the way to the right, and she was in all red. What was her position on a lot of
She
the
was a
stuff?
cunt. She's a super cunt.
Damn.
she was a middle. She's basically a centrist. She's a centrist. She kind of was like, oh, this is bad. This is crazy that this is where we are in America. Blah blah blah. But she's like, but I support free speech. Fence sitter.
Okay, so she didn't really have a position. So why was she even there?
To kind of maybe be the voice of reason. What Pierce normally does is he'll bring like maybe one centrist on, and then he'll bring people on that are more far right, and then he'll bring some people on the far left.
Okay, what do you think about this statue in in Times
Yeah, I
Square?
saw that you guys were talking about it, and I was like, man, I got to come in here and talk about this. So, there's a couple of things that I really hate, and one of them is fat people. And the reason why, I'm a open.
Nigga, we worked
I'll
out
admit
over
this.
here.
I hate everybody, but at the top of the list is fat people.
Facts.
And the reason why is because when you're fat, it's like, damn, man, you can't even control what goes in your mouth. This is fucking terrible. It's absolutely embarrassing. So, I make fun of fat people all the time. I think fat people should be bullied. I think we should insult them. If we're up to me, actually, if I was Fuhrer, I would put them all in concentration camps where they could concentrate on diet and exercise
That makes sense.
and eat better, drink water, go to the gym, all types of stuff like that. So, because I do think obesity is one of the biggest problems we have in America. And the fact that we literally encourage it and sensationalize it, we have stores like Big and Tall and, these plus sizes and shit like that. It's absolutely ridiculous to me. So, yeah, if I was president, man, day one, I'd create a camp. It'd be where they concentrate on diet and exercise, and they can't leave until they lose weight.
But it's profitable.
This is true. And
It's
I'll tell
very
you why.
profitable.
So I can talk about this a little bit, right? So, okay, before I say what I'm going to say, this is my opinion and reflects no one on the panel, okay? I don't want people to clip this out of context and try to attribute my opinions to you guys. These are just my views, okay? So women are naturally lazy. All humans are, but women tend to be more prone to being lazy because there's no natural proclivity for women to become successful and to be, they don't lead revolutions, right? They just don't. Men are supposed to be leaders. We have a much higher burden of performance on us, right? We got to be the protectors, the providers, the problem solvers, etc. Women, really, their job is to be pretty. So what we've effectively done, right, is we've made it where we've expanded this concept of beauty, and we've expanded this concept to include fat bitches. And this is completely unacceptable because reality is women only have one job. Be hot, and that's really it. And you can get
suck some dick,
right? It is what it is. So what we've done is, because remember, when it comes to the fat agenda, they market it more to women than men, and there's a reason for that. Men, we operate on meritocracy, right? If you're a fat dude, you better have some fucking money. Otherwise, you're gonna get roasted. You can't be fat and broke, right? But with women, since we've expanded the beauty standards, we want women to be, feel included. We've made it where, oh, fat is beautiful. Love your curves. Last time I checked, I never seen a fucking Calvin Klein commercial saying, oh yeah, love your curves, nigga. Never. We have to either have money or be in shape or we got to do something right. Women, though, we let them get away with literally anything. So when it comes to this mediocrity, when it comes to being obese, they market that more to women because women don't really operate on meritocracy. And with how desperate men are, right? Men will gladly take a big girl all the time, because it's so hard for men to just get sexual access nowadays. So not only are we incentivizing women to be fat, there's a market for fat women. So there's no real shaming for black women. Now for fat women. Now to get into the black community, it's even worse because let's be honest, niggas like big girls. And not only do niggas like bigger girls, the community doesn't really promote, eating better, healthy diet, What are they doing? Fried chicken and Kool-Aid. Crazy, right? You want to be a fried chicken connoisseur. Well, you're not going to be able to, control your calories to the same degree. Here's another uncomfortable thing. Once again, this is just my opinion, not the people on the panel. Seeing black women in the gym is like a unicorn. They're never there. Never. I see white girls. I see Latinas, but I never see black women there. I think there's a bunch of reasons for that, right? Maybe their hair, the weave, etc. It's expensive to get that shit on. I get it. Sweating makes it harder. But the reality is black women don't go to the gym like that. And this is why the average black woman's 187 pounds. Crazy. She's the weight of a man. So it's a couple of different problems. Number one, obesity is accepted. Number two, with women, it's even more accepted. And then the black community, it's damn near encouraged. And again, the reason why they market it to women more is because women are more likely to buy. I've always said this. When you lie, women buy. The advertising companies, there's a reason why they market to women and they market being politically correct, because they know that women are more likely to spend money. Women are 80% of the consumer base, and they control like 80% of the debt. Men are far harder to sell to. So this is why, like Gillette, for example, 4 to 5 years ago, they ran this very controversial ad attacking masculinity in men, right? But why did they do that? Ask yourself, why did they do that? Because they know that even though men are their predominant customer base, they knew that women still are the ones that make the purchasing decisions. So let's go ahead and attack the women. We're still going to make money anyway, even though it ended up backfiring on them. But this just goes to show when they do these woke ads, etc., that appeals more to women.
I see a little bit of pushback from completely a little bit unrelated to the actual statue that's in New York, but I see some pushback from guys that's kind of saying that they want to hold women accountable for the way that they dress inside of the gym. Have you seen any of that?
Yeah, like it's actually ridiculous how women dress at the gym. I agree on that one.
Whoa. What's wrong with the way they dress?
So basically, I think, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You tell them, and then I'll.
Basically, the sentiment is a lot of times, part of it is women have been, in a large sense, kind of recording men and saying that they want them, and saying, hey, why are you, always checking for me or whatever. And then there's also been another demographic of women that has been saying that they've been uncomfortable with the level of attention that they've been getting from men inside of the gym, so on and so forth, right? And then women a lot of times are now dressing more provocative inside of the gym, while at the same time saying that they don't want the attention of the men that look at them in the gym. And so men are starting to, it's been a segment of guys that's kind of been posting and talking about it online, to where they're basically saying that women need to dress more appropriately for the gym.
Well, this kind of comes into the, women love attention. I'm sure everybody here on the panel already know this. And they like it. I would argue women nowadays want attention more than they want a husband or a serious boyfriend. Obviously, in the process of getting attention, you're going to get a lot of unwanted attention in hopes of finding the guy that gives you the attention that you're actually attracted to. So with women, right, what I've noticed women is like, they don't go out and actually approach men. Like that's not really how they typically talk to men. They approach men by making themselves available, by making themselves sexually available, right? Dressing in a certain way, making themselves available in certain situations, placing themselves in certain situations. So, so what's up happening a lot of the times when they do this is a lot of men that they're undesirable to them are going to come up to them and try to initiate conversation. And then you add the fact that like we have Instagram, we have dating apps, etc. Now you're basically putting kerosene on an open fire. And this is why I would argue why so many women are insufferable and why so many women are rude and they don't respect men. It's because of this mass attention, not just at the gym, but on social media, because it used to be a girl would go outside and only get attention when she went outside. Now she basically has her Instagram up there and she's getting 10x the attention. So it's a lot of it is also online harassment as well. But this is what happens when girls sexualize themselves on the internet or in general.
I want to get your perspective, and then I want to jump in with a bunch of other people also. I want to get your perspective. I don't know if you are familiar or aware of what's going on with this Tyree Nichols case, where they had 2 cops, I guess, that pleaded guilty to some charges, but the other 3, they recently said that they, I guess, found them not guilty on all of the charges. It was 3 black cops
In Memphis, right?
Yeah, in Memphis that kind of beat the charges, and then 2 took a plea deal, I guess. And I'm not sure if any of y'all seen what happened or is refreshed, because it was actually a case from 2 years ago. And if I need to, I can refresh y'all memory and play some clips or whatever like that. But I want to get y'all perspective on what y'all think about this whole Tyre Nichols case or issues.
Yeah,
You guys go first.
You're gonna have to play the clips because I'm not familiar.
All right, so let me play this really quickly. It's gonna take a couple minutes for me to present this, but I'm gonna play this really quickly and then I'll bring y'all back up to speed.
How did we get here? The path to this day comes some 2 years and 5 months after Nichols was initially stopped in Hickory Hill. Since then, it has been a long and tedious process for those involved, and for Nichols' family, a painful and emotional time. Here's WRG's Shay Arthur with a look at how we got here.
Where they are.
For the last 8 days, we've taken you inside a Shelby County courtroom. Sometimes they were tense.
He got out of the car and he grabbed the guy that he thought had done something wrong.
Other times, emotional testimony. Shelby County District Attorney Steve Mulroy spoke to us about his team of attorneys on the case.
They've worked very hard for a long time in preparing this case. They were very thoroughly prepared, and they fought really hard to get justice for Tyre Nichols.
What's been discussed with so many closely watching goes back to this intersection, January 7th, 2023, at R0Ast and Rains Roads, where police claim they initially attempted to stop Tyre Nichols and ultimately ended in this quiet neighborhood about half a mile down the street, which we later learned from watching MPD body and dash camera video was also where Nichols was repeatedly punched and kicked not far from his family home. 3 days later, he died at the hospital. 10 days later, 5 Memphis police officers are fired, including the 3 who have been on trial: Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith. The 2 others have reached other agreements on their charges. On January 26th, the group was indicted in state court. Then the next day, the shocking video of Nichols' arrest is released to the public. On January 28th, the Scorpion Unit was deactivated. That was a specialized team these officers were part of. It was supposed to target criminal hotspots. Months later, on September 12, 2023, the men were federally indicted. And more than a year later, after weeks of a federal trial, on October 2nd, 2024, a federal jury reached a mixed verdict. Then fast forward, April 28th, 2025, the state trial for Smith, Bean, and Haley begins. For your
So essentially, in this state trial, all 3 of them was basically found not guilty of the whole situation. And the footage that was shown or that was released to the general public of what was happening showed that he had basically ran from the police after they initially had him subdued. It seemed like they had him subdued. Then they ran from the police. Then they caught back up to him. And then that's when the whole situation happened where he kind of got beat up a little bit. And then he died 3 days later. So that's the sentiment of it.
Damn.
I think there's like a shit ton of deference like given to cops. Like, this is egregious. Just what they go through daily and the split moment decisions that you have to make regarding your life or somebody else's. I could probably say this because my dad was a cop and he had to kill somebody, and I couldn't imagine what would have happened if my dad didn't shoot that dude in the head. I wouldn't have a fucking dad he shot my dad first and my dad shot him in the head. So it's kind of, when this cop shit come up and you kill somebody, I'll be like, nigga, y'all niggas need to comply and do some fucking self-preservation and fucking put your pride aside and go home type of shit. So I'm indifferent when it comes to when black cops shoot somebody. I usually think it's the person who got shot's fault. So that's where I'm at on this situation.
I'll go last because I don't want to influence anyone negatively. I'll go last.
I think one of the issues that I see is that it's really not as much protest. It's not anybody up in arms because it was black on black. Now this would be all over the place if it was like a white cop. It would be everywhere. It would be everywhere. It wouldn't be no hesitation that every news network would be covering this. So I think it kind of puts us in a place or a state where we got to start thinking about, are they really trying to play us? Because if they could race bait and keep us in the streets and keep us doing all kind of, in certain situations, but this is a very similar situation, but it's not anywhere. Nobody's talking about it. The cops got off and nobody's protesting. Nobody's mad because it's not on the news, because they didn't put it in the media, because they didn't gauge you. I keep telling folks they want to run the same plays, but if they know that those plays aren't going to fit a narrative, they won't try it. Because
Well,
black
because
people,
I'm
who's about to
sorry,
say?
Slimmy. No, I was gonna say yeah, because we don't care if we kill each other. We don't care about black on black crime. We're
Exactly.
only mad if a white person does it to us. So I agree with you, Slimmy.
But it did run its course through the news cycle
But they didn't
when it
push it.
like
This this the
it was in the
They got
background.
off, and they got off, and nobody's upset though. That's what I'm saying.
They didn't push it in the media
It's
the way
not,
they would have if that was 3 to 5 white cops. They
man.
would
They
have did a
pushing
whole
Metcalf,
thing. The black
and
community would have been burning up their communities.
yeah,
We
they
have
they going
selective
they
outrage.
they tried to make Metcalf a villain, and his son was killed. They tried to
Exactly.
make him a villain. His son was killed.
I have a
He shouldn't
question.
have fucked with that black boy and he'd still be alive.
Why were they beaten in the first place? Why were they beating him up in the first place?
It says that he fled on
He was
foot.
resisting.
He was yanked out of his car. He was pepper sprayed and struck with a taser.
Okay. Because I tried to look it up, and some people were saying something about, because I've never heard of this case. So some people were saying something about one of the cops may have been one of the guy's girlfriends, sleeping with one of the guy's girlfriends or wives or something like that, because it just seemed like, I don't know, they knew him. So I'm just asking. That's all.
They might have known him, but I mean, it's Memphis. Memphis is not that big, and I'm sure all the black people are, not all, but a lot of them are tied together in some way. I don't know. I'm on the fence with this. I mean, I'm like Quentin. I feel like you need to have some sense of self-preservation. Why are you running? Granted, they didn't tell him what they pulled him over for, but I mean, if you take off running, at what point are they going to tell you? Now, once they had him down, I don't feel like they needed to kick him and stomp him and all that enough to kill him. They could have handcuffed him. There's 5 of them.
Yeah, that's insane to get. Yeah, they some people are saying in the chat, they saying he was handcuffed already, and they were still whooping on him. That's unacceptable.
Somebody thought it was okay because they got off.
The jury.
That don't make it right.
The jury found him, innocent of whatever. So my thing is, where's the outrage in the black community? It was not there. This happened like 3 years ago.
But Molly, there's never any outrage in the black community for anything involving other blacks, other
Exactly.
YNs.
But there should
that
be.
never happens. So I mean, why would this be any different?
And they got off. You know what I'm saying? If these were white cops who got off, it would have been a big uproar. And it's just getting exhausting.
They would have had us in the streets protesting. They would have put it all everywhere, so we would protest.
Well,
they would have funded the protesting.
Exactly.
They would have funded the protesting, like they did with George Floyd.
But I'm here in Maryland, and a lot of the Freddie Gray cops were black, and they were outraged about that. So I don't know. Maybe it just, I don't know too much about this case, but maybe it doesn't fit a narrative. Whatever narrative
That's what I was
they're trying
saying.
to push, because in
Don't
Maryland,
fit no
like I
narrative.
said, those Baltimore cops, most of them were black, because mostly in Baltimore and DC, it's black.
Have any of y'all actually seen the video? I don't necessarily want to play it on this live stream. Have any of y'all seen the video of like the interaction between the cops and Tyree Nichols?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I seen
This
it.
morning.
Like 3
Did you
years
play it
ago.
this morning on the
I played
show?
part of it when they initially tried to arrest him, and then he ran away, and then they.
See,
I
that's
didn't play
so
the part when they originally called
that's
him.
so fucking dumb.
Well, if he got tased, he's bewildered.
What was dumb?
Nigga, have you ever been tased, nigga? You're not bewildered, nigga. You're like, fuck.
No, I'm not sure if the tase actually got to him or anything like that, but he was able to get away, and then he ran away. and I guess he was trying to run to his mom's house or something like that. I don't know, but and then they caught up to him and then they beat the shit out of him basically. So
That's crazy.
All right, so I comment on this. I used to work in law enforcement. I was for those that don't know in your audience, I was a special agent with Homeland Security for 7 years as an agent. I started my career in the Southwest border. So I'm very familiar with police practices and how things go. So I think it's important to kind of start off with use of force and how it's applied. So use of force typically is going to be based on not 20/20 hindsight, right? It's based on what were the facts available to you at the time when you conducted the use of force. So for example, just to kind of illustrate what I mean by this, let's say you get a 911 call, right? And they tell you, hey, look, there's an individual at the playground and he's got a gun and he's, we think that he's trying to do a burglary, right? He's by an apartment complex. The police show up. They have information that they think he has a gun and he's going to potentially be committing a robbery or a burglary. They're going to show up obviously with higher awareness of what's going on and more intensity. So they show up from what they were told. And let's say the guy pulls out the gun, but it's plastic and the cops light him up, right? Well, they find out after the fact that the gun was plastic, it wasn't real, and he was just going to go see his grandma. Well, the thing is that that's going to be considered a clean shoot. And the reason why is because a reasonable person in that situation would believe that getting a 911 call, being told that there's a gun on the scene, the individual matches the description, you show up and then you shoot him and you kill him. They acted on good faith and off the information, and a reasonable person will behave that way. So the reason why I say that story is so that people understand that when it comes to use of force, it's based on reasonable objectiveness. Would a reasonable person behave that way if presented with the same set of facts? It's not based on 20/20 hindsight. A lot of people get mad, 20/20 hindsight, the gun wasn't even real or blah, blah, blah. You can't operate like that. So I think it's important that people understand that police and use of force when it comes to self-defense, etc. This is why the Zimmerman case pissed so many people off, because they found out after the fact that Trayvon Martin was a teenage kid with some Skittles and, in Arizona. But at the time when he was fighting George Zimmerman, he was beating his ass, and Zimmerman was getting beat up, and he had a reasonable belief that he could get serious bodily injury, and he shot him and he killed him. So, and the court couldn't go after him for following him and harassing him and him just being a kid or him having Arizona and Skittles. It was, he was beating his ass. What did Zimmerman believe at that time? What would a reasonable person believe at that time when he shot him? And that's why he was able to walk. So I think I want to kind of put that out there first, that this is how use of force is judged in the United States. That's number one. Now, number two. So they're trying to stop this guy, and, he resists arrest. He runs from them. He gets back in the car and stuff. I saw the video, but I saw like 2 years ago, so it's a little hazy in my memory. But what I can say off of like what I saw and what I remember, what I could recall is anytime you run from the police, you're going to get your ass whooped. Like, I'm just going to be very like, is that right? No. Do I wish it wasn't that way? Yeah. In a perfect world, I wish it wasn't that way. But the reality is, people need to understand that the harder you make it for the police to arrest you, the more wiggle room you give them to beat your ass, right? Because what ends up happening as you resist, they can't match you at that use of force. They have to go a step above. So let's say you say, oh, square up with me. They're not going to square up with you. They're going to pull out a nightstick. They're going to pull out a taser. They're going to pull out mace. Like, whenever you have this use of force continuum, right? And they teach you this in the academy. Different agencies teach it different ways, but it's the same thing. Whatever they're at, you got to be a step above. So they pull up their fists like this. You go ahead and you pull out your baton. They try to run up at you. You hit them with a taser or a pellet gun or whatever. And then they pull out a knife. You pull out your gun, right? So it's never about being equal. It's about having force where you can neutralize a threat, right? At where it is. So in this situation with, I'm sure they probably had other information. Maybe they were told by the 911 dispatcher he had a gun. Because I'm going to presume the fact that they walked, they have some information that the public might not know, or I didn't study this case extensively. But the fact that they walked tells me that the court finds it that they acted reasonable given the circumstances. Again, I don't know the facts, but the fact that he walked, because remember, they're being judged by a predominantly black jury in Memphis. So for them to let them walk tells me that they probably had some very good defense to show that it was they behaved in an reasonable, objective manner. So yeah, I it's interesting because I literally looked at this case and I didn't get a chance to finish going through it because I was going to read through some of the court documents, but I didn't get a chance. But I do remember vaguely about this case a couple years ago because this happened a while ago. So yeah, but the guy resisted, man. And anytime you
It
do
was
that, I
like
tell
2
people all
years
the time.
ago, I think. It was something like 2 years ago.
I tell people all the time, anytime like you get stopped by the police or whatever, you just can't act crazy, man. Like the police literally, like, because they deal with crazy people all the time. So anytime you ratchet it up, they're going to ratchet up another level because they don't want to find out, right? They teach you in the police academy, you always want to go home alive. You always want to go, you're going to go home, not them. If it comes down to you or them, you're going to go home. That's what they teach you at the police academy. They train you to be this way. To always be on high alert. So when people do, squirrely stuff like this, high crime area, it's obviously a Scorpion Squad, which they're dealing with violent criminals all the time because they're what it looks like to me, the Scorpion Squad, a lot of these inner cities have this. It's basically an active policing entity. So they're going out looking for people selling drugs. They're going out looking for people that have guns. They're doing active policing. So a lot of the times they're going to have to behave aggressively like this to catch criminals. And when a guy runs from them like that, they presume, okay, is he going to get a weapon? What's going to happen here, etc. Now, did they take it too far? Probably. I'm sure they probably did. But clearly they got found not guilty. So something came out that exonerated them. So yeah.
Well, let me ask you this though, real quick. So because you were in law enforcement, once somebody is handcuffed, like what's up with beating them down? Like once you got them cuffed though.
Well, people can still be dangerous when they're cuffed, man. Like it's pretty easy to get out of handcuffs. And they can still kick you. They can still bite you. They can still cause some damage. Now, with that said, I don't know if they had the handcuffs on him all the way. He might have still been resisting. But, this is why it's so important to just like not be an idiot and run from the cops. Because like basically what ends up happening a lot of times is you open yourself up to potentially getting beat up by doing that. Right? Because they're going to act with a higher level of force to make sure they neutralize you. And sometimes that higher level of force can cause you some serious problems. I'm not justifying it, but I'm saying that this is how policing works in America. And I think people need to understand this. And I will say it is interesting that no one really protested or like went super hard on this one. I do think that the cops being black, all of them being black, played a big role in it. Because if they were white cops, we would be seeing Memphis burning down right now.
Yeah.
You don't think 5-on-1 was excessive?
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. But they teach you that it's never a fair fight. Like they teach you in law enforcement, like if you're on equal footing with the criminal, you're losing. You lost.
Facts.
Because it's not about having a fair fight. It's about getting them either getting them under custody or stopping the threat if it becomes deadly.
Yeah.
I just don't see how it could be deadly with one person on the ground and 5 people surrounding you. Like there was no fear of your life. There's no reason to be kicking this man in his head. Like,
yeah, no, that's wild. Like I said, I got to look back at the footage again. I'm only going off of the fact that they walked. So something, either the defense got something thrown out that was critical to the prosecution, or they were able to find some level of reasonable use of force here. But I think that more than likely the prosecution probably messed something up. Something got thrown out in a suppression hearing or something like that. Because it does look pretty bad on video.
Yeah, I'm not gonna play it on this stream because then you're gonna have to, they're gonna make you do plus 18 and stuff like that. And so
yeah. No, that's not a good move. Did he
I'm
have a gun?
not gonna play it on this stream. If anybody want to go and watch it, y'all gonna have to watch it individually. But
does he have a gun or did he have a gun?
No, he didn't have a gun. He didn't have.
Was it alleged that he had one or no?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, I know the guy was like a drug trafficker. I know that. So he was I think he was a drug trafficker. He had like some kind of arrest before for some type of felonies. But yeah, I mean, high crime area. It's an active policing squad. They're used to dealing with people like this. The guy ran away. It's nighttime. All of this plays a factor into use of force as well.
I don't doubt that, but 5-on-1, I just can't see it.
All it takes is him just killing one dude in that little, and it's a wrap. Like, it don't matter.
What? He's on the ground.
Who fucking cares? He could have got loose and did some shit. Nigga, he could have broke a bone, hit a nigga in the eye, and broke an orbital something. It doesn't matter.
And 4 more would have been there to jump
It
on.
don't matter, nigga.
Oh, I do remember this.
My one orbital fucking
No.
I'm kicking your motherfucking ass.
This the case where that dude was messing with one of the cops' girls or his ex-girlfriend. Yeah,
ass then, nigga.
Huh?
Okay, that's what I was asking because
Yeah, this is that case. I do remember this.
Yeah.
I stayed away from. Once I found that out, I just kind of like stayed away from it. They said they followed this dude from his job. They said they followed this dude from his job because he was messing with one of the cops' ex-girlfriends or something like that.
Yeah, that's what they kept saying online because I didn't see this. So,
but I never knew if that was verified or nothing like that.
Okay.
But okay, I do remember hearing. I kind of just stayed away from it because I knew I thought this was going.
Do we know that that's actually real? How do we know that that's actually? You know what I'm saying? Because I heard that too, and I don't know how accurate.
They verified that in court. And
but that's why I stayed away from it because I was just like, is they're just gonna make a shit show of this and they're gonna have people rioting in the streets. But because I guess it was all black cops.
Did anybody see the transcripts? I haven't looked into this case. So
no, I looked at the actual video. I'm trying to figure it out. I rewatched it because I live streamed this morning, and right after they read the verdict, after I found out about the verdict and stuff like that. But then in addition to that, I went back and I rewatched the video because I was a little hazy about it also because it was a while back. And I couldn't in any way, shape, or form figure out how we can how it was justified of like it's no way in the world that they could justify that. Because I mean they beat the shit out of him and they was stomping him. Like
what?
Yeah, man, it was stomping. They was stomping.
While he was cuffed?
They was stomping him, they was macing him, and then they set him up against the car, and then he wound up dying 3 days later. Like they was making jokes of the whole shit and everything.
Making jokes?
Yeah.
And they got off?
I don't know how. That's what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, man.
Uh-huh.
What you on about?
Calling me crazy the other day when we had this police discussion. Mika, you was in the group chat calling me crazy.
No, we had a discussion 2K about the other
scenario.
Guy,
that was about the crash out.
Yeah, the crash out.
Totally different. Now, what 2K was saying was right though. This is gang activity. That's gang activity.
No. Hold on. What he was saying was right about not that last case.
Yes,
no. About that's gang activity. That what they were doing to that dude.
No, you got to go based off of individual situations. The problem with these conversations a lot of times, and this is one of the reasons that I have a real issue with the way that people treat police officers, is number one. For example, police officers don't get the same level of sympathy and empathy when you see things happen to police officers. I've covered so many different cases where they were on raids and then police officers get killed. I've seen police officers get killed in Chicago, female police officers, male police officers get killed in Chicago, and they had nothing to do with anything. It was just targeted. And so these are individual cases that need to be separated from in individual cities. You cannot look at police officers as a whole.
Yes, you can.
No, you cannot.
I'm not saying look at them as a whole, but what I'm saying, what those cops were doing, that was gang activity.
That is a separate, but you're missing it, Slimmy. That is a separate issue from what 2K was saying the other day. That has nothing to do with this situation. That is you don't go and you run your car and kill a innocent retired.
Yeah, that's dead wrong.
Yeah, you do.
Out and
no, you don't.
And then be able to justify it by looking at what happened in Memphis and saying that it's the same thing. You cannot do that, bro.
And what I told y'all, I said the reason why I would call it justifiable because they already know as a black man, if you taking this to trial, the police are gonna stick together and he gonna get the getaway with killing his son. What? So I said it's better to go ahead and take justice in your own hands, as we can see. Now, let me tell you, you said all the issues are separate. They look at niggas the same universally.
Jesus.
They look at all of us the same universally.
Okay.
It was black cops that beat this man we're talking about, though. So how do you
The
compare that?
police is a gang. Forget the color of the police. The results would have been the same. That can't you see? They stick together and state by state. So what that dude did, what the daddy did.
No, you cannot justify that with this
because the trial
See?
this was gonna be the same results.
You give a motherfucker an inch, he gonna take a mile. I said you was right about the gang.
That's why I was trying to get you to not agree with him, because he's looking for any level of justification to be able to crash out on a police officer.
Man, 2K, you cannot conflate these like that, bro. No, that's why I said with these cops, what they did was gang activity.
Absolutely.
What they did. That has nothing to do with that father crashing out, man.
My nigga, listen.
Not the same.
His name was Robert Hinton Jr.
Yeah,
Okay.
Robert Hinton Jr. That is not the same, man.
Bro,
no.
You don't think them polices at the press conference, the blue wall, you don't think that that's them inserting their gang presence?
I don't have no. Hold on, wait a minute. Let me be very clear. In any job, literally in any job, if somebody dies that you know from the job, there is going to be solidarity. You can go to the union, you can go to the Teamsters, you can go to the UAW. If something happens on that job, there is going to be solidarity, especially if it is something perpetuated against somebody that's a part of the membership. That is not new. Hold on. Because all police officers don't support and throw up a blue wall every single time that something happens when a police officer does something that they don't agree with. In this particular case, in this particular issue, and
he lost his life.
I didn't even say nothing on the last one. The dude was working at a graduation completely unrelated to the whole situation, regardless of whether you agree or you disagree with whether or not the kid had a gun or not. The retired cop had nothing to do with it. Yeah. He's working at a graduation and somebody just randomly rams his car into him and kill him. Stop it, bro. Because I know too many guys.
I know about police too.
No. Because I was quiet the last time. I know too many guys that work on the police force in Philadelphia. I know guys that work on the police force in Chicago. These guys live, work, and play in their community. They actually joined the force because they felt like they would be able to make a change because they know the people in the community and they were actually participating in change and they have great relationships with the people in the community. So you're telling me that somebody should be able to randomly choose them to die just because of the job that they're doing and they trying to serve their community? And that's bullshit. No. Because this is dangerous. When we say stuff like that, that is the most dangerous things. We don't even like to be stereotyped as black people. I don't place myself in the same group as every black person. If something happens to somebody else, you telling me that me as a father, me as a husband, me as a person that is a productive member of my community, that it's okay for somebody to crash out on me if they beefing with you because we a community and we a group. That sounds dumb.
It sounds dumb, but this the reality of it, bro. Listen, the police have been doing that to people for years. To black people,
you cannot put everybody. That's like saying all black people are gang members. That's not true.
Anton, when something happens to a police officer and they don't have a suspect, what do? They hit the blocks and they terrorize.
Here we go.
They don't, nigga.
This is crazy, bro.
I'm lying.
This is crazy.
Hey, Myron, you ex-police. If a police,
what? She is
Myron is police. You tell me this: if a police get killed and y'all don't have no suspects but a color, what do y'all do? What's the procedure? The unwritten procedure.
Well, I was federal, so so we did long-term investigations. But if someone assaulted a law enforcement officer, which I've done one of those cases before, we're gonna arrest them and we're gonna put them through. I mean, I remember I arrested a couple people for assaulting Border Patrol agents that tried to run past the checkpoint.
Hold on, Myron. Hold on. I'm talking about y'all don't know who it is. Y'all just have a suspect. It's a black male. What usually happens? The police hit the block and they just start terrorizing niggas in whole. That's all they need is a suspect. They finna shake the block up. They finna throw people to the wall. They gonna find out who it was through beating everybody's ass. Tell me how is that any different?
You
Well, here's the
literally
thing.
just making it up as you go, and it's not even apples. But because
Yeah, man. I mean, that's not how it goes. Because here's the thing: it depends. If a police officer gets killed, it's gonna go to homicide, right? Again, I'm federal. We don't investigate typical murders like this unless it involves certain circumstances. But if it's gonna be the death of a police officer or a homicide, more than likely, a lot of the times, it's gonna go to the state police, or it's gonna go, depending on what state it is, they're gonna investigate it as a homicide, and they're gonna just work it backwards. 48 hours. In the first 48 hours is critical if you're gonna solve the case or not.
Anton ain't never been there when the police got killed. That 48 hours is for to be constant harassment and police whooping everybody they see.
What the fuck does it have to do with what we're talking about?
It's not
true.
true.
No. Let's say for the sake of conversation, let's say hypothetically, for the sake of conversation,
You're gonna cover in this bitch.
that 2K is 100% right. What the fuck does that have to do with the price of tea of China when it comes to the cop that got killed, that was completely unrelated, that was moving traffic at a fucking graduation, and he was retired?
Listen, a police killed this child. He killed the police.
No.
Hold on, wait, time out. It's a nigga on the block right now who is just there for no reason. He is going to get his ass whooped. You telling me it's different, and I'm asking you how. The police is a game, and that's just the real of it.
No, man. No. You can't justify.
I just
killing. Wait. Stop. Because you cannot. What Anton said, that is dangerous, man. You can't justify killing a random person because your son was caught in a criminal act and he was gunned down.
But the police.
Wait. You can actually find that actual cop that did that. You went and emotionally charged, just took off on somebody who had nothing to do with it. This dude isn't even in the same vicinity as the officer, dog. That is negligence. That is recklessness.
Okay.
He could have literally found the cop that did it. He didn't wait. He didn't even try.
And you're right. The police are outstanding people. Okay.
So wait a minute. So basically, wait. So what you're telling me is that you believe in killing innocent people.
I don't, Anton. But
that's exactly what happened. No. That's what happened. He was an innocent man that was working at a graduation and he died.
Okay.
So you believe in killing innocent people?
No, I don't, but I believe that it was justified with what he did and how it usually goes.
He was an innocent person.
Oh my God, man.
He was an innocent person, and you justify him dying.
I can understand why the daddy did what he did. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying I'll do it. I can understand why the daddy did what he did. Just like you can understand when the police hit the block, after the police get killed, they come and shake shit up.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Then let's put it in a different way.
It's not even hard to grasp.
Wait.
I'm never gonna get emotional about these things though.
A little child.
Because I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. Like, this is why we get stereotyped and why we considered emotional and why black men a lot of times get the labels that we get.
You're right, but how okay?
Unfortunate. This is the reason why his
son can't condone a crash out.
This is the reason. The way the daddy acted is the reason why we are considered and we looked at the way that we looked at. For every 100 of us that are great fathers, that take care of our business, that be on top of things, that do things that we're supposed to do, that handle things appropriately, we all gonna get thrown out of the bus, off the bus, or under the bus for every one person that represents us in a negative way. And it's unfortunate.
And niggas just start saying fuck the police for no reason. For the sport of it.
No, they started saying fuck the police. The reason that they started saying fuck the police was because it was marketed to them from Ice-T and Colors and NWA back in 19. The reason why people started saying fuck the police was specifically because of Ice-T and Ice Cube. That's why they started saying fuck the police. Black people never said fuck the police. Black people never was saying that shit until it started getting marketed to them from rap music.
Bro, oh my God, bro.
That's a fact.
Y'all niggas live in a bubble. You think a nigga just randomly one day said, let me go say fuck the police.
I live in a bubble? Okay. You probably live in a better neighborhood than me.
I probably did, Anton.
Well, what are you talking about? How am I living in a bubble? I grew up in the 80s in Detroit. No. I grew up in the 80s. I grew up in the 80s in Detroit. I grew up in the 80s in Detroit with Gang Squad. You don't know nothing about Gang Squad. You ain't never seen that. You don't know that unit. That unit was disbanded. It was literally assigned to my neighborhood. All I seen was raid vans, jump out boys, Cherry Lawn between Norfolk and Chippewa. Literally dope houses. No. It wasn't nothing but a field and dope houses. Every other house, right across the street, raid van. Every other Friday, we used to see raid vans riding up and down the street. I know exactly what the life is like. So please listen. Miss me with your victim Olympics. Miss me with, oh, you disconnected. You live in a better neighborhood than I do.
Anton, that I'm not a victim. I can just tell you how it is and how it was and how it's always have been. I'm not a victim. What are we talking about here?
I'm the only one that's
because you keep trying to use this sheltered shit as justification for not being able to substantiate your argument.
I didn't say you were sheltered. I said you are living in a bubble.
What bubble am I living in?
Aren't happening.
I'm sorry, what's not happening?
Shit up out from a rap song, bro.
That's exactly
no. That's true. That's true.
That's exactly what happened.
I'm older than Anton. I know for a fact that that's true.
Ice-T and Ice Cube.
Yeah.
First of all,
nobody was saying that shit before that. Nobody was saying that shit. Nigga, we had Dare.
When Colors came out, that's when it first started popping off. And then when NWA dropped, that's when we really started marketing to ourselves, fuck the police.
It was a marketing move. Nobody was going through what they was talking about. It was strictly niggas just clung to it just because what? Because what? Niggas want saying
clung to it because it was marketed to them. It's the same reason why we cling to anything that's marketed to us. Why do we start wearing our pants down, sagging off our ass?
Okay.
I got a question, 2K.
Why do we start wearing our pants sagging off our ass? Why did that become so important to us?
You're right. The police were never the KKK. We was never getting beat up. We never had
not in your lifetime. It wasn't.
That has never been a reason to say fuck the police.
There we go, moving the goalposts as usual. Because you can't substantiate your argument.
I'm not moving the goalposts.
You know what, 2K? I'm disappointed in you because you're smarter than me.
We were saying
you're smart enough and wise enough to be able to think on your own and be a free thinker. But you choose groupthink. And you know what the worst part about groupthink is that when you don't think as an individual and you don't put together the conversations and the facts based off of your own lived experiences and the fact that you don't experience the thing that you promote and you market into other people that you think is cool.
Everybody on a
because let's be absolutely clear, 100%. You don't live the life that you telling everybody else that makes sense. And you ain't gonna be the one that's gonna be out here in the streets. You are very sheltered. You got high ceilings. You very sheltered. You got high ceilings. Your kids ain't.
I want to add something to this too. I think it's important, right? You talked about NWA and the emergence of gangster rap and rap that was endorses violence and everything else like that. Who pushed that music?
The media.
Who runs the media?
The Jews.
All right.
Hey,
there you go.
Be careful. Be careful.